I'm Amy and this is Julian. I'm the growth specialist at Civium for residential property management, and Julian is our content creator. With end of financial year just around the corner, we've asked Faisal from State Financial Services to meet with us to discuss negative gearing. Faisal, do you want to introduce yourself? Say hi.
Hi guys, my name is Faisal Deva. I'm the CEO of State Financial Services. The company is based in Melbourne, but we have opened up branches in Canberra. In terms of experience, I would say I have been in the banking industry and approving loans, stuff like that in credit, and covered every department in banking for the last 15 years. And I thought, okay, it's time for to start my own thing.
Awesome, so, sounds like you're busy. How about we start with something simple? What is negative gearing?
Sure, it's very simple. I'll keep it short and sweet. Negative gearing is, we'll say someone wants to invest and investment, and there is a loss in the investment, right? In terms of property, we'll say you buy a property and you invest it. And the income that you get is, for an example, is 10 grand, but the interest cost that you pay is 15 grand. So you basically have a loss there. And that $5,000 that you have lost, it can be negative geared against your other income and derive a tax advantage from that. So people use this as a tax strategy all the time, but people also think of positive gearing, but it depends on their needs.
Okay. So negative gearing is designed for investors, not owner-occupiers, or can owner-occupiers also have benefits from it?
Negative gearing is totally designed for investors. Owner-occupiers can't negative gear. There's no negative gear because they are not renting, or it's not an investment. So it's basically only for investors.
Okay, that's really good to know. Does it make a difference on what kind of property an investor has? You know, if it's an apartment or a house, townhouse?
It does. It does not. Income will change because how much you invest, and it depends how much the loss has been occurred to you. At the same time, a property, you can claim depreciation in your properties as well into negative gearing. But that all depends, again, how much you invest and how old the property is and how long the property would exist. And it's when it comes to that area, it's a huge question. And that can be answered in case by case. It depends on the situation.
As the content creation manager, I'm a little bit of an outsider to investment and real estate. Most of what I know I've actually learned simply from being in the industry as a photographer for real estate agents and just sucking up what I know by osmosis. But I've recently purchased my first home with my partner. It's an apartment in a suburb in Canberra that's quite new. But from our point of view, we may be considering further on down the track using that as an investment property if we'd like to move to a larger place. What would you say to someone in that situation regarding negative gearing?
Yeah, so in that situation for you, in your case as a first home buyer, if you can increase your wealth, wealth creation in Australia is like the best thing is property, right? So if you can, get into your second property, that will be the best thing that you're doing. And at the same time, with your income levels, with your income thresholds, it also depends how much tax you pay. And if you have an investment property, you can definitely negative gear, and that will come in handy as well in terms of as a tax strategy.
Sure.
But as a first home buyer, if you can increase your property portfolio, do it.
Once you get to a point where owning a second property as an owner-occupier and then say having the first become your investment property, would it be a general rule of thumb that you could use negative gearing as a strategy in a lot of circumstances? Does it apply to a large number of people, I suppose, is what I'm asking.
That's a very good question, Julian. What happens is, so the question is that you want to know, is it good to use negative gearing to buy the next property, or can the negative gearing use as an income to purchase a property, right? Yes, you can. Not all banks do it, but most of the banks, they do consider investment negative gearing as, they add it back towards the income threshold. Definitely, yes. Yeah.
That's always good to know. What might people not be aware of? with negative gearing? What can they do that they might not know that they can do?
Good question. I mean, it's the same question like when Julian said, "I'm a first-home buyer. What do you think? What I should do?" And the thing is, with negative gearing, and the second question that Julian asked was, "Can negative gearing can be used as to couple it along with the income?" This is something that people don't know. Because and also most of the lenders, only an experienced lender would know that, negative gearing, the interest cost and all these things can be added back as an income. And also they think the banks are not doing it, but there are a few banks who accept that too. So this is something that nobody knows much. And also the other thing is, this is something that if a customer has a good accountant, and if the accountant is really looking after the customer, and depending on their income when they do their tax return, they would advise, hey, listen, as a tax strategy, you need to have the investment property which can be negative geared. So sometimes accountants, they don't come up with it, because I'm not like saying anything to accountants, but I have met a lot of people, right? I have met a lot of people. When I'm doing their loans, when I'm checking out their documents, stuff like that, I just tell them, hey, listen, you should think of an investment property, but did your accountant speak to you? No, my accountant didn't speak to me about it. So these are the things that they need to get out there and look for. As you said, I'm a first-home buyer. I need to create my wealth. I need to buy a property. How do I do that? So there are lots of avenues, in the market, in terms of increase your property portfolio. Even though if you can't do that, I would answer that question to Julian. Because Julian, if you don't have the right income right now, but if you come to me, I will sit with you and draw up a plan, right?
Yep.
In 1 year's time, let's buy investment property. In terms of that, you need to have these things, these steps, right?
Yeah.
So these are the things that people don't know. They need to seek out and reach out for not advice, like to get to know more knowledge and to see how they can get well. Maybe it's not today, but it can happen in the next year.
Do you find that a lot of people get, I suppose, caught up thinking that they're so overwhelmed, let's say, with that process of buying their first home, they get over that first hurdle and tend to leave it there without thinking about how else they might grow their wealth?
Correct. I have come across, yes, Julian, I've come across a lot of people once they buy their first property. And also another thing, something that first-home buyers do, when they buy their first property, they keep investing their money in buying things for the house.
Yeah, I fall into that trap a little bit, I must admit.
I'm sure you would have done the same thing, right? Doing gardening, doing landscaping, buying furniture,
Absolutely.
Buying stuff, right?
Coffee machine.
Put in a new fence.
Yep.
This way, right? I put it this way: when you buy those stuff, so for an example, if you buy a TV, you buy a TV for $3,000 and that depreciates like nothing. It has no money, right? So when you buy your first home, this is something that I did, right? And all my friends are doing the same thing. It's good to have furniture. You need to have your house well. That's fine, right? But once you get property, right? Or my best friend, what he did was he didn't do any of those. He kept all that money. He bought a new investment property, right? And he invested, we'll say for example, 20 grand today. We'll say if he buys furniture and stuff like that, it's gone. But he invested that in an investment property. That 20 grand made him 40 grand within the 6 months.
Yeah, wow.
Right? So these are things that they could tackle, and increase their wealth through the property portfolio itself. Is an amazing thing, but some people won't like it, but that's the reality.
So I guess as an agent, what can I do to help my clients with the negative gearing? Like, what advice can I give them, and where can I direct them so that they can maximize their investment or maximize and grow their portfolio?
Amy, you are doing the right thing by organizing this particular webinar.
Thanks.
Right? So actually you're doing the right thing. This is what you need to do. Basically, you are doing the right thing. Again, I repeat that by making your customers and being an agent, making them aware, but this is the opportunity that you have. You can increase your wealth, and these things you can't do. You basically can't give financial advice, but you can connect them with the right people. That's what you're doing now. And keep doing this. I think as an agent, the more you give, knowledge to your own customers, that's where, because we learn every day new things. And as an agent, I'm commending you that you're doing a great job by organizing me to come here and talk today. So that's what you did. So I think you're already doing what you're doing is right. I think in terms of another thing that you can do is also making people aware of negative gearing more in terms of sending them emails and connecting, talking to each other and meeting them face to face and connecting people to me as well, and whoever you think is the right person to give the right advice.
If my clients wanted to search and do some research on their own and find their own advisors, who would I be suggesting that they look for? Should they be looking at accountants, mortgage brokers, tax depreciation specialists? Like, what kind of financial advice should I be sort of leaning them towards to make sure that they're getting the right information?
Yeah, this is the right time to talk to the accountant because tax time, right? So it's best to direct them to their accountant and also tell them that, talk to the accountant about getting an investment property, increasing investment portfolio and negative gearing. And accountant would be the right person at this stage.
Yep.
And also they can reach out to a mortgage broker to, check their eligibility in terms of whether they can, what's their borrowing power is and what sort of property that they can, buy. And also talking to someone like you at the same time to see what are the properties available and what sort of income that I can get if I get an investment property. For example, apartment. Okay, for an apartment, what is the average income and average income for a house, a townhouse, and what properties are available. And also then it goes to a solicitor or someone to check out whether everything is in order, documents are in order. So it's good to talk to everyone, but this time it's good to talk to your own accountant and a mortgage broker.
Okay, are there any specific questions that they should be asking so that the topic, like you mentioned earlier, that it's not necessarily something that gets discussed readily, not everyone thinks of it. So are there certain questions that would, open the lines of communication for that type of discussion to get them into the direction that they need?
Good question, Amy. The question is, the first question that they should ask the accountant is, what do you think is the best tax strategy for me based on my income, right? So, the answer would definitely be you should get an investment property. I'll vouch that. So that's the only way you could negative gear your income.
I like hearing that.
So that's exactly the only question, and that's exactly the only answer.
Okay, easy. That's nice and simple.
And obviously, any advice or information given in this interview is general in nature. This doesn't take into account your own personal financial position or objectives. Before you proceed with any investments, please do speak to a licensed professional or tax agent and consider that before you proceed.
Yeah, so basically what I spoke today is just general, common things which is available for anyone, and it's not tax advice.
Yeah.
We spoke about the concept and how we can help, to get more knowledge. So it's just all about that. And I am a licensed mortgage broker, and I have my own license and my credit license. So in terms of lending advice, you can always come to me. So as in general, it's just general information, common things which are available in the market that we spoke about today.
Fantastic.
Get out there, look for properties and just learn about the market and talk to friends, reach out to people who can be responsible in giving proper advice and reach out to Amy and ask information from her, what are the income from an apartment, what are the properties available and stuff like that. So I think that's a good start. And then with that information, when you go to your accountant, hey, listen, I just thought I heard something like this. What do you think? Yeah. So and also before you go to the accountant or everything, anybody can even reach out to me. Even my colleague in Canberra, I can connect. Anyone who wants to talk about borrowing power, their capacity and how much of savings they have and what they can do, or else if they don't have anything, if the borrowing power is not available now, and also they don't have any savings or whatever, we can draw up a plan, right? So, these are things that you can do, and you can, get yourself organized and, create your own wealth.
Sounds perfect. Thank you for joining us this morning, taking the time out of your day to have a chat about all of this with me. I really appreciate it. Or with us.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Faisal.
I'll put all of your details in the link attached to this for anyone who does have questions. And obviously, if anyone contacts me directly and wants to chat with you, I'll pass them along. But I think, a little sneak peek for the next interview that we're going to do. I think Faisal and I have got something else up our sleeve ready for the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned.
Yeah, 100%. All right.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me. Yes. Bye.
Bye.